In the previous video, we took some mud from an old pond, some plants and water from the lake, and placed everything in the aquarium in order to create a fully fledged ecosystem, with a maximum variety of living creatures that will reproduce and serve as live food for the fish that we are going to settle in today. One evening, while watching the inhabitants of the aquarium, I spotted a large green creature walking on the sand. Its long body resembled a crocodile, while its head looked exactly that of a praying mantis. It slowly but surely approached its victim, but this time the prey managed to slip away. I guess it's a larvae of some kind of a predator, and we'll find out what it turns into in the future. I often observe these small creatures called Cyclops on the glass of the aquarium. Apparently, they got their name due to the big red eye on their head, which they use to look for prey. In this shot, we see a female Cyclops with lots of eggs under her tail. Hopefully, many little Cyclopses will hatch from them. I was excited to find one of the most amazing creatures on our planet on the wall of the aquarium. This is a tiny Hydra. It's a creature that attaches to plants or rocks and lives on them. It reproduces by dividing its body into parts. Can you imagine another person growing from your stomach? Well, that's exactly what happens with Hydras. Also, I was shocked to see how far it can extend its poisonous tentacles. When touching the prey, the poison paralyzes it. As a result, the victim stops moving. Hydra opens its creepy mouth and quietly pulls food inside its body. The ultimate proof that Hydra is a super creature is the fact that it will not die even when cut into 10 parts. At that moment, it starts a transformation, in the process of which each piece of the Hydra becomes a Lego construction set and each cell serves as a separate brick. They start to rearrange and resemble the body, but in a smaller size. As a result, each piece transforms into a separate small Hydra with its own head, body and tentacles. You can split a single Hydra even into 10 or 100 pieces and still get 100 Hydras. Fortunately, the water bears don't submerge, so they are out of the Hydra's reach, which is not the case for the smaller creatures swimming underwater. A few days later, we decided that it was time to introduce the shrimps that we have kept from the previous videos about the aquarium from the future. After several hours of adaptation to the new water, we released them into the natural environment in which they have never been before. The variety of the food in their diet will be overwhelming in these conditions. It turns out our aquarium became a house for a predator that poses threat to all living creatures in it. It's a leech that travels on the glass of the aquarium in search of its victim. Take a closer look. It's carrying several baby leeches right on its belly. In this case, there will be even more formidable predators in the tank, and later you will see who they'll attack. Earthworms are no surprise to anyone, but what if I told you that underwater worms also exist? They build little bunkers on the bottom and occasionally peek out from them to check the surroundings. But once I noticed this worm right below the water's surface. I have no idea how it got there, but it was sitting coiled around a plant and apparently trying to catch one of the small Daphnia. Do you remember that aquatic caterpillar that lives in the house built from pieces of various plants? Well, I managed to shoot its house from a perspective where you can clearly see the entrance into it. In some magical way, there is no water inside, and the entrance looks like it's a portal to another dimension, or a magnifying lens behind which you can see the caterpillar doing its business and slowly eating the house from the inside. In a few seconds, it produces some green presents that slowly sink to the bottom, where they are picked up by an unsuspecting shrimp, taking them as a heavenly gift from the gods. The next morning, I saw the house attached to the wall of the aquarium, but there was no one inside. I looked around, and this is what I saw. A small and very beautiful moth sat upside down on the lid of the aquarium and spread its wings. It turned out that the aquatic caterpillar had made the last transformation and transformed into this beautiful creature. Needless to say, I released it outdoors, and the moth flew into the sky to meet its new life. It's time to introduce fish into our ecosystem. We chose these two babies, who had little time to get used to the abundance of food that appeared on the surface of the water every day. Hopefully, they'll be able to hunt and sustain themselves. Let's submerge the container with fish to the bottom and wait for them to swim out into the open. The juveniles immediately notice the food floating around and try to eat it. However, they hardly catch anything, as the food is alive and swims away rather quickly. One of the fish had some kind of a stick protruding from its belly, but it didn't prevent the juvenile from continuing the hunt. It was one of the most intensive moments for me. I couldn't take my eyes off the aquarium and stayed next to it for about an hour, watching these little guys become real hunters in an almost wild ecosystem. And that's when I witnessed a very strange scene at the bottom of the aquarium. Two underwater creatures unfamiliar to me were stuck together. And no, it's not what you think. The larger creature grabbed the smaller one with its legs and didn't let go. Well, I kept watching them for days, and they were always together. I think this big bug, for some reason, holds the smaller one hostage and never releases it. The good thing is that the hostage will occasionally get some food, so it will hardly starve to death. That evening, I saw a depressing scene of a leech and a small snail. And no, the leech wasn't hugging the snail or even holding it hostage. It waited on the glass and attacked the snail. Then the leech sucked on the prey's body, made a hole in it, and injected its venom, which liquefied the snail's body, allowing the leech to just drink the contents of the shell as if it was a cocktail in a glass. But don't be upset, because I found a clutch of eggs on a leaf, which perhaps the snail had laid before it met the leech. Later, I noticed some eggs on a glass, inside of which we could see little snails crawling around and waiting for the eggs to hatch. Take a look at this newly hatched baby. It gave us an amazing performance in which it took a small stick, put a pebble on it, and showed us the wonders of balancing. Probably due to the fact that we covered the filtration holes with a mesh, the water pump on the aquarium went out of order. While searching for a solution to this problem, we installed this aerator in the aquarium, which releases bubbles and thereby slightly mixes the water so that it doesn't stagnate. As time passed, the shrimps adapted to their new conditions very well and actively cleaned the bottom of the aquarium from the accumulated particles of dead plants, leaving only these small sticks. The fish have grown significantly, and their tails have acquired color. I think this way of life is more interesting for them. Plants also keep growing all this time and increased in volume. You can compare how the aquarium looked at the beginning and how it looks now. The experiment is going according to plan. We had absolutely no problems at the start of the aquarium, no outbreaks of algae, diseases or turbid water, as it is often the case. We simply poured everything nature gave us inside a tank, and the aquarium started up perfectly. In 60 days, I haven't fed any of the inhabitants, changed the water, or interfered with this ecosystem in almost any way. Will things remain this smooth in the future? Only time will answer that question, and we will show you everything in the next episode.